Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
I'm so pleased to welcome in Steve Sands, who was in Memphis this week. Steve, what did you make of all the twists and turns that we saw unfold in those final stages on Sunday? Such good viewing.
Oh, it was great, Anna. It was so much fun to be there. The fans in Memphis showed up. The golf course was fantastic, and the storylines were incredible. You have Tommy Fleetwood trying to win for the first time in 162 PGA Tour starts, unable to do it. J.J. Spaun coming close and riding that momentum in 2025. He's played such beautiful golf. Scotty Scheffler, of course, the best player in the world. He was right there in the mix, but wasn't quite razor sharp on Sunday. And then Justin Rose kind of sneaked in there at the end, made a couple of money putts coming down the stretch, especially the one on the second playoff hole after J.J. Spaun made the really long one for birdie to extend that playoff. And I'm happy for Justin Rose, his 12th win, 45 years of age. It was an awesome, awesome week in Memphis.
It was. I have to say I was pretty vocal watching it on TV. We were covering it here in Stamford. Now, Sandsy, let's talk about the champion. Justin Rose, as you mentioned, 45 years of age, major champion, gold medalist. What do you think it says about him that he's just able to keep up this high level of play, especially when so many of his countrymen and contemporaries went over to live just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, you know, all you hear, Anna, in professional sports is it's a young man's game. But here's Justin Rose, 45 years of age. He works so hard. He works as hard as anybody, not just on the golf course and on the range, Anna, and in the short game area, but in the gym and with his rest and with his diet. And he has everything intact right now. I mean, it was just an amazing performance. And with all these young guys coming out and all these young guys playing well and all the best players in the world being in their 20s and their 30s, here comes that 45-year-old to make all of us gray hair guys feel just a little bit better about him competing with the young guys. I think it speaks volumes to the type of person he is, the type of competitor he is, Anna, and the work ethic is second to none.
Yeah, he did it for guys like you, Sandsy. As you say, there is a lot of life in the old dog yet. Now, you have seen some of Tommy Fleetwood's near misses up close. Each one of them at this point just feel that little bit tougher than the last. It almost seems like as well, so many of the guys on tour, including his closest competitors, are even rooting him to get over the finish line at this point.
Listen, he's one of the most popular players in the world for a reason, Anna. And you know him. I know him. He's such a great guy. Like Justin Rose, works his butt off, is always there, shows up, shows out. And by the way, how about how much of a class act he is by speaking to Damon Hack yesterday on NBC after that final round disappointment. I think that the prevailing thought, Anna, has always been if you put yourself in position enough times, you're going to get comfortable in that position, and then you're going to cross the finish line. I'm rooting for Tommy. I know we're not allowed to root for people in our business, but I think everybody in the sport is rooting for Tommy. That has nothing to do with Scotty and JJ and Justin Rose by any means, but I think everybody wants Tommy to get this thing off of his shoulders to such a heavy weight. It was awfully disappointing. Not as disappointing as it was at the Travelers Championship earlier this year, but he keeps coming close, and I think that if he keeps getting himself in that position, boy, and at some point, he's going to break through here on the PGA Tour. He's just too good of a player, and he's too great of a guy, and he's not a quitter. He's a competitor. He's going to get after it. But certainly Sunday in Memphis was another disappointment for Tommy.
Yeah, and as he said, he'd rather have the 6 runner-ups and the Sundays like that than to never have had a taste of that ever at all. Just let's touch a little bit on these FedEx Cup playoffs this season. Now, obviously, Rory was the only player in the top 70 in the standings not to show up in Memphis. But the fact that that staggered shot format of the Tour Championship is now gone, do you think there is kind of any concern that you'll see more players doing this if their spot in the top 30 isn't particularly at risk?
Sadly, yes. I think that that's the biggest change that needs to be made moving forward in these playoffs. I think the FedEx Cup playoffs have gotten better. They have become a huge thing on a player's resume. It's now major championships. It's players' championship titles. It's FedEx Cup titles. You look at Rory McIlroy there. He's won 5 majors. He's won a couple of players, and he's won 3 FedEx Cup titles. It's a huge thing on a player's resume. And this has nothing to do with Rory. I think Rory was just playing by the rules. He was allowed to skip last week, so there were 69 guys, Anna, instead of 70. I just think as a sports fan, not just a golf fan, but as a sports fan, you can't be eligible to win the playoffs if you don't play in all 3 playoff events. Again, that's not Rory or the players' fault. I think that's the tour and the players needing to come together and making sure that everybody shows up. Unless there's an injury, unless there's a family situation or something like that, if you're eligible to play and are able to compete, I think you should have to play in all 3 playoff events if you're going to keep advancing and then eventually have a chance to win the Tour Championship. I like what they did at the Tour Championship, Anna. I think it's great that they're going back to regular golf, 72 holes, stroke play, best score wins. But I think not having somebody of the stature of Rory McIlroy last week in Memphis, not only does that hurt the field and hurt the fans and hurt the sponsor, I just think it hurts the tour. I think that the tour needs to make sure moving forward, in my opinion, again, I don't think it's anybody's fault. I just think that that thing has got to get fixed moving forward.
You're right. There are definitely some loopholes still out there right now that players like Rory can happily take advantage of, and why wouldn't he? It suits his schedule. Much more to take last week off. Let's turn our attention to the Ryder Cup, Sansi. We're all licking our chops already. What we have seen over the last couple of weeks or so, Chris Goddard obviously won overseas. Cam Young got his first PGA Tour win at the Wyndham Championship. We will find out in just a couple of weeks who is going to be locking up a captain's pick. But do you feel like late season wins like that potentially make it harder for Keegan Bradley to pick himself?
I think so, although the pedigree in the past doesn't say that. In 2014, Anna, Billy Horschel was the hottest player on the PGA Tour and did not get taken. He won a couple of events, including the BMW Championship, was at Cherry Hills that year, 11 years ago. Did not make it to Glen Eagles for the United States team. By the way, the United States lost. Not that it would have made a difference, perhaps, but he was the hottest player and did not get picked. Go back to a couple of years ago in Rome. Lucas Glover won 2 weeks in a row. It's hard to win on the PGA Tour. It's almost impossible to win 2 weeks in a row, and that's what Lucas Glover did. He was left off the team. So, in my opinion, I would take, if I was a captain, a player who was hot, but also knowing that there are about 4 or 5 more weeks to go before the Ryder Cup, you know, maybe that warmth or that heat kind of cools down a little bit. But I don't see how let's say Cameron Young wins this week, all right? And he makes it to the Tour Championship and he plays well in Atlanta. How do you leave him off the team if he's just won 2 of his last 3 starts and made it all the way to Atlanta? I don't know. He's also a New Yorker. And you know what the fans are going to be like at Bethpage Black Air. That place is going to be a zoo in a good way, in a sports fun way, but it's going to be wild. So if I was a captain like Keegan Bradley or a Luke Donald, I certainly would take a hot player. I thought Goddard had a really great chance, Anna. After he got that win in Scotland, he then went 3rd, I believe, at Royal Portrush at the Open. The following week, we were at the 3M Open outside of Minneapolis. He had a chance on Sunday to win. If he wins that, I think he has an amazing chance to be on the team. He's cooled down just a touch, so I wouldn't think Goddard would be looked upon by Keegan Bradley, maybe perhaps as closely as a Cameron Young would be as far as getting hot lately. But yeah, for sure, I would take the hot player.
Yeah, you kind of have to, don't you, really? And by the way, I know you said that the crowds are going to be like a zoo in a fun sports way, but I'm not so sure, Sansi. I feel like the zoo could be breaking down those bars. Who knows? Let's hope it is, though.